Kate Mila Falcha. Welcome to Irish Granny Helen, and welcome back, Debbra Lupien, voice of the Akashic Records. Hi.
Hi. So glad to be here again.
Thanks for joining us all, and looking forward to this one. So I just got done telling Deborah this. We had planned on getting together, and she didn't know this, but when we set the date, this was the case that I wanted to ask about. This is the yogurt shop murders, and this happened 34 years ago. It has been unsolved all that time. It comes up periodically in all my favorite true crime podcasts. So, I've heard the story a number of different times, and it is a real tragedy. I saw, when I was taking notes for this, I saw a video that I'd seen before, part of a documentary. It might have been like Dateline or something. I can't remember. But there is video footage of the night when their bodies were discovered. And so I won't go over the whole thing, but 4 girls, 2 younger girls, 13 and 15, 2 17-year-olds. The 17-year-olds were the employees of this yogurt shop in Austin, Texas. The 13-year-old was the younger sister of one of the girls, and her friend was the 15-year-old. The 2 younger ones had been fooling around at the mall, and the older sister picked them up, brought them back to the yogurt shop. They were all going to close up and go home together, all 4 of them. Well, then you see this video taken from inside a police car. The cop was doing his patrol, and he had a ride-along with him. And I don't remember now, but the ride-along, I think, was like a journalist or somebody was filming it. And this is 1991, so it wasn't selfies. They weren't using a cell phone. It was intentional for them to be recording it. And they come around the corner and they see smoke billowing out of this yogurt shop. So this is all documented in real time, which is unusual for the moment, for that time period. And so he calls the fire department, and they come and they find these 4 girls, their bodies in the back room. And the fire was intentionally set to destroy the evidence, right? And of course, firefighting the water further destroys the evidence. So without going into too much gory detail, they had closed up shop and something happened and they were killed. And eventually, not too long afterwards, the police pulled a kid over, and he had a gun, and the gun was the same caliber. So they immediately, and there are videos of these interrogations, which would make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. They were so egregious. They brought in this guy and a total of 4 young guys, circle of friends, and they grilled them, and they got what turned out to be false confessions from 2 of them. Long story short, 2 of them got off. I don't remember why they didn't get indicted and convicted, but 2 of them were indicted, convicted, sentenced, and incarcerated for quite a long time, years, like under 10 years, but still. They got released eventually after appeal on a technicality having to do with their Miranda rights not being read appropriately. And so this cloud has hung over them since the 90s. It's terrible, when you think about it. The families have no resolution. They're convinced that these kids did it, but now they're free. It's a difficult situation for everybody. The cops, as we became more enlightened as a society about the psychology of interrogation, it was recognized that these cops really mishandled the whole thing and browbeat these kids into confessing to something. Fast forward to the present, and unbeknownst to me, 4 days earlier, I did this thinking, 34 years ago, it's a mystery. It's likely to remain a mystery. And I thought it would be fun for you and me to do what we're doing right now. Little did I know, 4 days later, they had been tracing, they found a bullet in the sink. So the perpetrator had collected what evidence he could. He missed this bullet because it went into the drain. And they got this bullet and they got DNA off of it. And they didn't have any ability to pursue the DNA then. New technology, it would have destroyed the evidence. And then, maybe they wanted to wait for the most accurate DNA. They finally got a profile and they did genetic genealogy. And genetic genealogy is how they caught the Golden State Killer. It's how they've caught a lot of people. They've solved a lot of cold cases. What they do is they take the genetic profile and they go back into databases of DNA databases, and they find, this is where, I don't know exactly how they do it, but they find a profile that looks like it could be related, and they trace it down the family tree. And then when they find the person that seems to be DNA related in part, right, and the right age, and they look into the background and they realize, well, he could have been in the area, they follow them and they collect their Coke can or their Starbucks cup, and they confirm that the DNA profile matches. And that's what they did in this case. And they ended up discovering the DNA of a guy called Robert Eugene Brashers, who was a serial killer. He had killed other young women.
So he was not one of the 4 that they interrogated?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And the gun that boy had, they didn't check it to see if it had been fired?
I don't know. I didn't pursue it. I don't know. I did read about it originally, but I didn't pursue it for tonight. I just don't remember. Okay. Right. Just suffice it to say he had nothing to do with it. They had nothing to do with it.
This is like deja vu with the Central Park 5.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. Except, did they do DNA with them? Yes, they did. They exonerated them 100% with DNA.
Yeah.
And, somebody whose name we won't mention is still trying to get them executed for it.
Yeah.
Which is just unbelievable. Okay, so I think we should name the victims just out of respect. 13-year-old Amy Ayers, 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, 15-year-old Sarah Harbison, and 17-year-old Jennifer Harbison. So the Harbisons lost 2 daughters that night, if you can imagine that. Anyway, let's start with 10 o'clock-ish that night, because there are some eyewitnesses, and we can ask whichever of the girls or however many that I'll leave that up to you. I don't have any particular one that I prefer to ask, but I guess I'd like to ask, around 10 o'clock, they were anticipating closing at 11, but they still had customers in the store, and it was a Friday night, date night, right? And so there were people in line at the store, and eyewitnesses later said that a man was harassing customers, really being obnoxious, and then asked to use the bathroom in the back, and then was gone a really long time, and then came back and left. So could we get a description of what that was like that night?
Okay, so I'm just going to ask the angels in the Akashic Records, because I'm not sure who else we should ask. If we just go to the angels, we'll get that picture and then we'll see where that takes us.
Okay, you don't want to ask one of the girls who was actually there?
Well, I can. I don't have their full name though, so you pick one and give me their full name.
Let's ask Jennifer Harbison. She's the older one.
Harbiston?
Harbison.
Harbiston, okay.
No T.
Okay. Harbison. All right.
Yes.
So, Jennifer Harbison, one of the yogurt shop victims. Would you be available and willing to speak with us? Yeah, she's coming forward. So we understand from the story that there was a man who went into the back of the shop and was gone for a very long time. Could you tell us about that individual? Maybe give a description? So early 20s, dark hair, looked like a punk. Yeah, and he went back to use the facilities. He gave them some kind of a story. So he went back to the facilities. And they were busy. They were closing up. So it didn't sink into them at the time that he'd been gone for a long time. So they weren't aware of that.
The witnesses said that he was harassing the customers. What was he doing? Did they notice?
So, Jennifer, was he harassing the customers? Yeah, he was your typical bully type who was mouthing off and just being rude and inappropriate, being a pest.
Did she notice? Other witnesses said there were two men sitting at a table together who seemed to just be watching everybody, sitting, against a wall at a table. They just had drinks and they were casing the joint. Did she notice them?
So, Jennifer, did you notice two men sitting in a booth looking like they were casing the joint? They caught the attention of other people. Yeah, they noticed them and they had a creepy vibe, but that really wasn't all that unusual. They would get some weirdos that would show up from time to time, particularly in the evening. And often it was just weirdos and they meant no harm. They were just kind of like socially inappropriate kind of people. So they didn't really put a lot of focus on them because it wasn't that abnormal.
So did she get did her red flags go up with either of this one guy who used the bathroom or the two guys that were at the table watching?
Okay. So did you have any kind of heebie-jeebies or red flags go off for you about either the men at the table or the man who went into the back? No, not really, because it wasn't all that unusual to have weird types. And she's describing the guy who went in the back as like there was something mentally off with him. It was like tics. He had like tics, like, a jerking kind of thing. So he was just weird.
When closing time rolled around, were the two younger girls in the back?
So at closing time, were the two younger girls in the back? Yeah, we had them come back and help us so that we could all get out of there sooner. So we were all in the back.
All of you were in the back, because here's the story that we know. The last customer that was in line left, but there was still somebody inside the shop, and they locked the door at 11. So no one new could come in, but people inside could get out. So who was left when they locked the door?
So when you locked the door, who was left in the shop? I'm seeing a woman. So like a middle-aged woman. And so they didn't feel any threat from her. They weren't worried about her. So they were going about their task, just waiting for her to finish. And she was to call out and let them know when she was ready to leave.
What happened?
So what happened after that? So she called out, and the 13-year-old went out and let her out, and she was gone. And then it looks like some man pushed his way in when she was trying to lock the door.
Had he been watching them from outside?
So do you know, is this somebody who'd been watching you from outside? That's what they thought, because of the way he just was conveniently there at just the right moment to push his way in. And it scared the little girl, and so she's backing up to get away from him. And then she ran into the kitchen to be with the other girls. And by then, he had pushed his way in, and he came back, and he was menacing them in the back.
Did he wasn't one of the people that had been customers earlier?
So this man, was he somebody who had been a customer earlier? Did you recognize him? Was he the man who went to the back that you didn't see again? No, it's a different person.
Oh.
He
Was
was
he
deliberately waiting outside because he didn't want the people who were in the shop to recognize him and describe him later. So
Was he alone? Was he alone?
Was he alone? Yeah, just the one.
So what happened? Did he say anything to them?
So did he speak to you? He pushed us around. We thought he was going to rob the store and that he was just trying to get us out of the way. But he quickly changed his mind and started getting rough with us. And so, did he physically assault you? He wanted to, but he was hesitating because what would he do while he was assaulting one with the other three? So that was a dilemma he couldn't figure out how to handle. Not a really bright guy, just a, bully. So what
Well,
did
according to the police, he actually did.
he did?
The youngest.
Okay. So maybe she was gone before that happened. So can you describe for us what happened there in the back of the store? It looks like there was a little room, like a closet or something, where he was able to shove a couple of the girls into the closet. And so then he could, focus on who was left. But I'm not seeing clearly the details. I mean, she doesn't really want to talk about that. Did he assault you? She's saying no. And do you know that the police say that he assaulted the little girl?
Amy.
Amy. Do you know that the police say he assaulted Amy? Yeah. She doesn't like to think about it. She has a lot of guilt. She felt that being the older girl, she should have protected the other girls and offered herself.
Does she know now that that would not have made any difference, that this man was a serial killer?
So do you realize now, Jennifer, that it wouldn't have mattered? The man was a serial killer? Well, she didn't know that then. Of course, she sees it now in hindsight, but she's still left with that feeling.
Yeah. So the 4 young men who were hassled by the cops, 2 of them served time in prison, they had nothing to do with it?
So, Jennifer, there were 4 young men who were hassled by the police and served some time in prison for the crime at the yogurt shop. Do you know anything about those men? Do you remember seeing them? They were regulars, so she had seen them before. And of course, she's able to see those things from the other side, but she wants us to know, this has been a long time ago, and they're not spending time thinking about that or even following it. They're pursuing other activities.
Right, right. This is more for the benefit of a sense of resolution. When I'm sure that she understands that when there's an unresolved mystery, it haunts people. And it's always better to know than to be left in uncertainty and doubt. At least that's my opinion. And it's not morbid curiosity, it's more a sense of finality. I would rather know, they were unfairly found guilty and punished for something they didn't do. And it's good to hear right from the source they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So, Jennifer, can you affirm that those 4 men had nothing to do at all with the crime? No, they left before. They were not there when it happened.
And he was totally
menacing.
He was totally alone.
She said he was a very menacing man.
Yeah.
Kind of big. And it's like, shoving the foot in the door. And then the girl got scared, backed up, and then he just came in.
So did he kill the older ones first?
So, Jennifer, could you tell us, did he kill the older girls first? It looks like he killed Amy first after he had his way with her, and then killed her. And at that point, he was getting bored and just tired of the whole thing. So he just decided, well, I've already killed the one, I've got to kill the others because I can't leave witnesses. So he just quickly dispatched the rest of them. And, then he did whatever it was he did to clean up the evidence and get out of there.
Yeah. She knows that he set the place on fire.
Yeah. He doesn't feel like he's afraid. He's just very kind of methodical and like dull-witted.
He was a psychopath. Yeah. Oh, yeah. People have the mistaken notion that psychopaths are all geniuses, and it's actually the opposite. Yeah, that's not true at all. Does she know the name of the guy? Does Robert Eugene Brashers? They've identified him, and he is dead, but at least his name is known, and I guess the mystery around their deaths has been solved appropriately. I don't know if that gives her any sense of relief for her family.
So, Jennifer, do you know, was it the man, Robert Eugene Brasher? Was that the man who killed you? Well, she didn't know his name at the time, but yes, the identification matches what she saw. So it was him. And do you and the other girls feel any kind of vindication now that he has been identified as your killer? They're happy for the families to have the resolution, but
Yeah.
They already knew.
Yeah. Does she have anything she'd like her family to know?
So, Jennifer, is there anything you'd like your family to know? She's sorry. Sorry that she was in that situation and that she wasn't able to do something to prevent it. That's what she's left with, regret.
Well, she was a 17-year-old girl doing the right thing, helping out, making a little part-time job, being nice to her younger sister and her younger sister's friend. She had nothing to apologize for. I know she regrets what happened because of how it affected her family, I'm sure, but there's no responsibility, no onus on her. This man's monster, and she just crossed paths with a monster.
Yeah. There's still that residual feeling of I could have done something more. Even all these years later, that takes a while to process that kind of trauma.
Well, I don't know if it helps hearing it from me, but a 17-year-old girl is no match for a large man who's mentally not okay. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you
thank you.
get that, Jennifer? She says thank you. She appreciates that. It means a lot.
Yeah, my heart goes out to anybody who goes through something like that, because you know that there's a sense of, what could I have done differently? That's the society pressure, right? Sometimes fate crosses paths. There's nothing that you could have done to anticipate or prevent it. It's just, I don't know, maybe some kind of karmic thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure her parents are sleeping better now that they know.
Yeah. Has to be a relief. Now, did they ever rebuild that yogurt shop?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I never even occurred to me to ask. I can't imagine. Although I'll tell you what, it was in a strip mall.
Yeah.
And they're not going to let valuable real estate go unused. I hate to say it, but that's how people are, right? Be creepy.
Yeah. Probably something totally different went in there.
Should we tell her I said thank you?
Yeah.
Should we ask the guy? Should we ask him a few questions? Do you think there's any point?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's find out what his story is.
Okay, his name is Robert Eugene Brashers. I know nothing about him, so this will be interesting.
Okay, so Robert Eugene Brashers, are you available to speak? He has this energy like Lurch, the way he moves. It's like he had something physical going on as well as mental.
You mean like brain damage?
Maybe it's just he didn't move. You remember Lurch from the Monsters? The way he moved was weird. So he moves kind of like that. So
there's somebody in current events closely related to the most problematic individual, related by blood, who reminds me of Lurch. Can you guess what I'm talking about? Don't say it. I don't want to taint this session.
I'm not sure.
Thin, very tall, and almost zombie-esque. Male.
Yeah, I think I know who you mean.
I'm sure you do. Okay. So is he willing to talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he just has strange energy.
So
do you have a specific question?
Yeah. Is he able to... Okay. I'm trying to think the best way to phrase this question. Does he know? Was he born with neurological damage, or was he born with psychopathic makeup character disorder? Does he know?
Okay. So, Robert Brashers, can you tell us, were you born with some sort of a mental or physical defect? No, it was the result of a childhood injury that impacted his mobility. And what about a mental defect? Were you born with the proclivity to be a sociopath, or did that come later? He says he was born with it. He always felt different. He felt like an outcast. He just did not fit in. And he was bullied and teased as a child and was very angry and lashing out. It's like he had a chip on his shoulder from very early on and was very retribution minded, shall we say. So he was looking for ways to vent his anger and distress.
Why was it directed towards women?
So why directed towards women? Because they're weaker, it's easier. And also anger towards his mother. So why?
Does he know? Does he have? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I'm
Did you
just going to
say-
ask why anger towards his mother.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So why anger towards your mother? He was abused by his father and she did not protect him, so he blamed her for that. And he couldn't bring himself to do anything to his own mother, but he took out that anger and bitterness on women because they stood in for his mother.
Where have we heard that same thing before? Do you remember?
Was that in the senator's story? The
Jack the
senator from
Ripper.
Chicago?
Oh, a little bit, but Jack the Ripper. Remember? Remember
Not
how that
really.
weird? Oh, I'll remind you later. It was a weird story. Okay, so here's a question. I don't know how quite to word this either. Is there a purpose for somebody to be born into this set of problems? Like, what is he supposed to be learning? If you have neurological damage, you're hampered from making good decisions, controlling your impulses, whatever the damage is. How do you achieve the purpose of this incarnation in that condition?
So, Robert, can you help us understand when you incarnated and you had this hindrance, how does that impact your soul purpose for the lifetime? What was that all about? Can you help us understand? It was something that happened while he was being born that caused the neurological damage. Some mistake that was made. Like maybe deprived a little bit of oxygen. It feels like that's what it was, just for a short time, but enough to cause some damage. So, that was an accident of birth. That was not something that was chosen when he incarnated. But once that happened, then he had that big handicap he had to deal with. And he could have chosen to be a good person despite all of that, but he didn't. He chose the dark path, which is a repeating pattern for him from previous lifetimes. So he just slipped right into it because it was familiar.
Familiar, yeah.
Once he started that path, it was like, going down a slide. It's just gone. No turning back.
So in this particular crime, the yogurt shop murders, had he been stalking any of those girls? Had he seen them before?
So, Robert, had you seen those girls before? Were you stalking them? He'd noticed, and here were these vulnerable girls late at night in the shop. So it intrigued him, caught his attention, and he was always on the lookout for those kind of opportunities. So he would study it for quite some time before he made his move, because he was aware that he wasn't the brightest bulb, and he had to very painstakingly plan things out so that he didn't get caught. But yeah, he'd been watching them and others. They were not the only ones.
Was he surprised there were 4 there that night? Did he expect only the 2?
So, Robert, were you surprised that there were 4? Yeah, that changed things for him. And, he had his eye on the original 2, but then the opportunity of the 13-year-old, he couldn't pass that up.
So was he a pedophile?
So, Robert, would you say that you were a pedo? He liked them young. That was more of a challenge. It was more satisfying for him. They didn't fight as much.
Did he go in with the intention of killing them?
Did you go in with the intention of killing them? Yeah, that was a pattern he had already developed because he knew if he didn't silence them that he would get caught. That was the way he was ensuring in his mind that he wouldn't get caught. No witness.
After he left and the case progressed, you know, those two young men served time in prison for the crime that he committed. What are his feelings about that?
So what are your feelings about the two men who served time for your crime? He's happy about it. He enjoyed it. Gave him a real sense of power that he could get one over on the police and they could get it so wrong. And he has no sympathy whatsoever for those men.
Now that he's dead, do things change in the sense, does he now have more empathy, insight?
So, Robert, would you say that now that you've crossed over that you have more empathy or insight for your victims? Not really. The persona he's presenting to me is still very much like when he was alive. He has not processed all of that yet.
Which I find puzzling, because if you're not attached to a body anymore, you're not hampered by the limitations of the body. So you can't blame neurology. At that point, it's all spirit, right? So where does he go from here?
He will process it over time. It'll take him long before he incarnates again so that he can put all of that in perspective and understand the whys and wherefores so that he has the opportunity to do better next time. But, you know, for some souls, it can take them millennia before they're ready. It's very individual.
So eventually, when he reincarnates, what does he speculate? And maybe this is a stupid question, but how do you learn from the next incarnation? Do you become the victim, or do you once again have the choice to be or not to be a perpetrator?
So what do you say about that, Robert, when you incarnate again? Well, there's always the perspective of coming to do better, because the soul doesn't come intending to cause harm. But he probably will choose a situation to be born into where he is likely to be victimized so that he can work through that energy in a better way this time and then come out the other side to be a better person. That will be the plan. Whether he's able to do it or not, who knows?
So he took himself out, is my understanding. Why was that?
So, Robert, why did you choose to exit from the planet yourself? He could not bear the thought of being locked up. It really terrified him. And to him, he had lived a full life. He had done many of the things he wanted to do. And it was okay to leave. It was far preferable to whatever he might have experienced otherwise. So he felt empowered by making that choice.
He had no concern about where he was going to end up.
No, that didn't even cross his mind. He was just focused on the clear and present danger he felt were he to be captured. Because in his mind, he's reasoning, this may be the only chance I get to escape. Once they've got me, I'm going to spend life in prison or be executed. And I'm going to do this on my own terms.
Were they hot on his trail?
So were they hot on your trail, Robert? Is that why you made the choice? it felt like it to him. He could feel, not literally, but figuratively, he could feel the heat on the back of his neck. It was just too much.
A predator, yeah. I don't have any other questions, do you?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah. That's just a sad situation. And, you know, I feel so sorry for those girls who feel that somehow they were complicit in their own undoing. And
Yeah.
it's not like that. I understand. I mean, you know, it's human nature, but
Yeah.
when you're being completely logical, it's not like that. What
So
are you going to
with
do?
Robert-
Pardon?
Go ahead and finish, and then I'll ask you.
Oh, I was going to say, when you're a 17-year-old girl, what are you going to do against some predator like that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just too much. So with Robert, do you know how many victims he had?
I think he had at least 2 others. Ask him.
Okay. So Robert, can you tell us how many victims, how many deaths are attributed to you? There are 7 that he's claiming.
Are they all known to be his doing?
So are they known by the authorities to be your victims? He's not sure. That's not something he's kept track of. Doesn't matter to him. But there were 7. So maybe, are you saying there was one early on before they found the pattern so they didn't attribute it to you? Is that possible? Yeah, that's possible.
Are they all random?
Were they all random? No. The first victim was somebody he knew. That's where he started.
How old was he?
Well, how old were you when you took your first life? 17.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions. Thanks, Deborah.
Yeah. It's just a sad story all around.
It's chilling because it's really apparent that this is not somebody that if you just do the right thing, you could get through to them. You know, there's no getting through to them. That kind of person is so damaged. There's no reasoning, no rationalizing, no appeal to emotion. There's just nothing. If you just run afoul of them, you run afoul of them. It's really sad. Yeah. I suppose the most positive thing we can say, it was obvious there was something wrong with him, and maybe that gave people early warning to get out of his path. You know what I mean?
I think people would have given him wide berth because he was just creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a neighbor like that. Okay. Thank you, Deborah. So let's onward and upward, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll be back solving yet another crime here any moment. And Slán go fóill. Sláinte.
Bye.